Hello everyone, and Happy New Year. Today is the 1st of 2017. I just wanted to come and do a quick video here because the end of the 2016 year, start a new year. It's always cool to kind of do a quick review of the past and take a look forward to the future. Now, I'm not going to get into writing and stuff in this video. I'm actually just going to focus on the books that I've read and the books that I'm looking at diving into. I'm curious what you guys are interested in. What books are you really looking forward to in 2017? What books did you read this past year that you really loved? So I'm going to take a few minutes and kind of go through mine here, let you see what I've been reading. So last year, at the start of the year, I was into Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. I know that's old hat for some of you guys. It's been around for a while, but I finally got into it. So starting out the year, I had gone through and I read The Well of Ascension, which is the second book in that series, and then I read The Hero of Ages. Absolutely loved that whole Mistborn series. I think my personal favorite with The Well of Ascension, the second book. I know that's not everybody's favorite, but it's the one I enjoyed the most. Really enjoyed the series a whole lot. So far, I've enjoyed everything that I've read from Brandon Sanderson. He's probably my favorite so far. Definitely a certain style and flavor there. But I started out the year right with that. During the early part of last year, I got an opportunity to do a few beta reads. One of those beta reads was Blood Song by my good friend and author Robert Mullen. So I got to read that, and Blood Song is a great little novella. It serves as a prequel to Robert's story Bid the Gods Arise, which is a fantastic fantasy epic. I really enjoyed that, and yeah, I'm obviously a little biased because I got to do a beta read on that, but wow, what a good story about Danya, this young lady. And it basically chronicles her life story on her way to becoming the Blood Goddess. Fantastic short story. If you guys haven't checked that one out, please go and check out Blood Song by Robert Mullen. It's a real short book. It's like 100 pages, but fantastic. He just really paints such a fantastic portrait of Danya, and I hope I'm saying that right. But what an awesome character. What a good little story. And it'll give you a nice little introduction to his bigger work. So if you like Blood Song, definitely check out his first novel, Bid the Gods Arise. Fantastic fantasy novel for those who like the epics. So from there, I went and I got into a series that I was, to be honest, a little intimidated to start. And that's because of everything that I had read about it. And that series is the Malazan Book of the Fallen, or the Malazan series, as people call it, by Steven Erikson. Now, this is a series. The Malazan series is a massive epic series that spans 10 books in the primary series, plus there's some additional books and a whole separate series that Erikson was written by Erikson's co-author, Ian Castlemont. But the actual canon series, the 10-book series, by a lot of hardcore fantasy fans is considered way up there, like one of the top epic fantasy stories. And even though he hasn't maybe sold as many copies as maybe a Robert Jordan or a Brandon Sanderson or the famous names like Tolkien and such, he definitely holds a special place in the hearts of a lot of fans of fantasy. So I wanted to get into the series. I want to find out what all the fuss was and why people said that he is the best world builder ever, or his fantasy novels just put everything else to shame in terms of sheer scope. I wanted to figure out what that was all about. Why are the people who know about him so passionate about him? But I'd also read it's incredibly complicated to get into, very difficult to read, and you really have to push through the early books. So I was kind of curious if it's so hard to read and it feels like a labor of love to find out what was all the fuss about with this Malazan series. I'd heard it was incredibly complicated, and how do you have a series that's complicated and the readers have to force themselves to read through it, but then once they do, they love it? I didn't really understand that completely. I mean, I knew Brandon Sanderson's work moved kind of slow in the early chapters of a lot of his writing, and I understood the payoff came. But when I got into Gardens of the Moon, which is the first book of the Malazan series, I understood right away. And also as a disclaimer here, I generally do most of my reading actually on audiobook. I'm listening, and I would much rather be reading, to be completely honest with you guys. The reality is with my schedule and my time limitations, it's just not very practical. I don't get much time to actually do hands-on reading, whether it's ebook or paper copies, which I would much rather do. That is definitely my style. But audiobook works for me because I can listen to it when I'm on my commute. I can listen to it on lunch breaks. I can listen to it while I'm doing more repetitive type of tasks. I can do it while I'm running. I can do it while I'm on the treadmill, etc. You get the point. Well, I will tell you, as fantastic as the voice acting was, Gardens of the Moon was an absolute bear to get through, especially an audiobook where I didn't have anything like to refer to. I was trying to guess at the spellings of some of the names. Oh my god, I got those completely wrong. So even looking stuff up online and like wikis and stuff, it was very difficult. But Gardens of the Moon was incredibly confusing. Erikson does not take baby steps with anything. He takes you above his fantasy epic, and he just drops you into this world where the storyline spans millennia, and it spans worlds, and there's different timelines, and there's so many different races and deities and magic systems, and he does not hold your hand through any of it. He just drops you in. It's truly sink or swim style, and for a lot of people, that's overwhelming and intimidating, and that's exactly what you're going to get with Gardens of the Moon. But what's awesome is if you just hold on and you just push through, even when you don't have a clue what's going on, you just keep listening, you keep reading, however you're going through it, you'll get into this world where you start to get a sense of how big this storyline could be. And the truth is, you really don't. You'll have to get several more books into the series. That's Gardens of the Moon, the start of the Malazan series by Steven Erikson. So I would recommend anybody get into that series, but you need to put on your big boy or big girl pants. You need to strap in and hold on tight and be ready to push through. So far in that series, and those books are huge too. Those books are anywhere from like 700 to over 1,000 pages a piece. So Gardens of the Moon was good. I read through that. The next book in the series was Dead House Gates. The series really, I was like, wow, I can't say much about it because there'd be so many spoilers, but you are introduced to so many characters. The cast of characters is gigantic, bigger than anything I've read in any fantasy so far, and it's absolutely massive. And Dead House Gates was almost like starting a new book because there were so many new faces, new characters, new places. That book got really good. The longer I read into it, the better it got. Some fantastic characters, very memorable scenes, a lot of great lines, just a really rich world. The next book in that series, book 3, was Memories of Ice, and I'm only 4 books into the series so far, but Memories of Ice and Dead House Gates, those are so far my 2 favorites out of the series so far. 2 fantastic books. It seems like each book gets bigger too, so I'm kind of concerned now that I'm about ready to move on to book 5 that the books, I'm going to be reading a 2,000-page book by the time I'm done. So I know that's not the case, but the books are huge but fantastic. So then I got into his 4th book. Now, it took me a long time to read The House of Chains, not because it wasn't good, not because it wasn't engaging. Simply life happened, and plugging in for 45 minutes or half an hour of audio storytelling just wasn't really fitting into my schedule for a while. But the story is fantastic. Now, Dead House Gates, or I'm sorry, not Dead House Gates, The House of Chains is a little bit different than the other books because Erikson goes ahead and he does a long introduction with one primary character for a good portion of the book. It's almost like a really long extended prologue that focuses on one primary character, this individual type of narrative on a single character, and so it has a different feel to it. But then as you get into the book, you start seeing more familiar faces, more familiar places, more familiar storylines, and it starts to all just come together again into this larger narrative. It's a fantastic book. Not my favorite of the 4, but there's some characters in that story that are absolutely unforgettable. Whether you love them or hate them, they are written and created in an absolutely phenomenal way. The depth that he goes to build them and the uniqueness, just just astounding. A lesson to be learned in how to develop and create characters as a writer. Definitely could take notes on just that book alone. So really enjoyed that. Now the rest of the series, it's 10 books. I have 6 more to go. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I did finish out the year. I actually finished up last night reading the end of House of Chains. Other books that I went through this year, I did the 30-Day Faith Detox by Laura Harris Smith. Really good faith detox where you mix elements of your faith and you mix basically healthy eating, and it's a really cool system, especially if you have some health challenges that you're looking at dealing with. It helps you go through a detox process where you couple your faith with the natural elements of eating certain foods, and it's kind of a color-coded system. So like some days you eat only yellow foods mixed with your greens, and some days you eat only red foods mixed with your greens. It's all backed by science. It's a really cool system. And that was kind of fun. A lot of neat recipes in there. And as a person who doesn't like salad and stuff like that, it was a challenge for me. So part of it was going through it was just to say I completed the challenge. Pretty cool system. So again, that's 30-Day Faith Detox by Laura Harris Smith. I also read, our church was doing basically a read-along through The Model Man, From Integrity to Legacy by Larry Stockstill. So for the friends of mine that I have out there that are people of faith, that definitely check out that book. And even if you're not a Christian or whatever, that's a really cool book that really challenges men in our society, be they fathers, husbands, or not even there yet, really just to take accountability for your actions, for your decisions, for your family, and to really be a person of integrity all the time, especially in the little things in life that we often think just really aren't that important, consequential. So, Model Man, From Integrity to Legacy by Larry Stockstill, great book. It's a short one too. I don't even think it's 200 pages, but a really good book. That'll be a great addition to your shelf this year if you want to step outside of fiction. So, the last book that I'll talk about that I had read this past year is a book by Peter Ō'Roulean. He is an author for Tor. A lot of people don't know him yet. He's been around for a while, but he's finally starting to get some brand recognition, some name recognition out there. He's a really talented author and musician. And his book, this book, The Unremembered, is actually the first book. Yeah, I think I'm getting this right. It's the first book in this series that he's writing. The Vault of Heaven is the name of the whole series. There's several books in the series, but this is actually the first entry, or the first book, which is an entry into that series. He actually wrote it several years ago, and he's done a re-release since then. I think this was the author's definitive edition that I had read through, but it's a really cool story. And I won't get into the characters or the plot, but his world is different than most of the worlds, because he took his passion in music and he brought that into his passion with writing. So what you have is a world where the entire world and so much of the nature of the world and the religion and the faith and even the magic system are all based on sound, vibrations, harmonies, frequencies. It's music. So it's a really cool system that he has developed. It's a really cool world. It's a very rich tapestry that he's woven into that, where music is in all of it. So it's a cool departure from the norm. So any of Peter Ō'Roulean's works, I had read The Unremembered. I look forward to getting to more of his work here in the future. But really cool if you just want to try something different and try authors who are doing things that are not tropes and not the common way. So definitely no cliche stuff there with the way his magic system and his world building works. So great book from Peter Ō'Roulean. So that's basically not a whole lot of titles there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books. So I did 10 books in all of 2016. Not a small number. I didn't even hit my Goodreads goal of 15 books. But I also realized that according to Goodreads, it tells me that the average length of the books that I read this year were 614 pages. So it's not a lot of books, but it's over 5,500 pages. So I was pretty happy with the amount of reading that I got accomplished. So that was a lot of fun this year. I'm going to try to keep my sights in check for how many books I think I'll be able to get through, because some of these books I'm not exactly sure how big they are, but I do know that I have a list of books that I definitely want to get through in this next year. I would love to say that I'll be able to do a whole lot more, but I'll actually put a screenshot up here at the end that you can see of some of the titles, because some of these titles are awesome looking. The covers are awesome looking, the names are really intriguing, but I'll kind of rattle off a few here. So my number one most anticipated book for 2017 is actually a book that's not even out yet, and unfortunately, even if it stays on schedule, it won't even be available until November of this coming year, or this year, now that we are in, today's the 1st, so November of this year, and that is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. Oathbringer is going to be the 3rd installment in the Stormlight Archives series. So the first book was The Way of Kings, then we had Words of Radiance, and then Oathbringer will be that 3rd installment. And Oathbringer is a continuation of that series, and the focus, the primary character that we're going to focus on this time is 𝕨𝕨𝕨, which happens to be my favorite character in the series. If you love rich world building and you just love epic fantasy and not quite as difficult to follow as Steven Erikson's work, I definitely highly recommend the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. When Oathbringer comes out, I will be buying it as soon as it's available. I'll also be buying it in hardcover simply because the artwork is gorgeous, and there's a bunch of extra artwork that comes in the hardcover versions throughout the pages and a lot of text, which you don't get in a lot of books, which is absolutely fantastic, and it adds a lot of value to the story, the richness of the product that you get. So Oathbringer, although it won't come out until the end of the year, as soon as it comes out, I will probably stop everything I'm doing in terms of other reading projects, and I'll be diving into that. And honestly, I can't wait. So other than that, I will be spending most of my time going through the rest of the Malazan series, which could take up the majority of my year. That's going to be, the titles in order are Midnight Tides, The Bone Hunters, Reaper's Gale, Toll the Hounds, Dust of Dreams, and ending with The Crippled God, which is the 10th book in that installment. If I can manage to read the 6 remaining Malazan books and Oathbringer, here are some of the other names that I'm really interested in reading. So I'm just going to rattle off the names of some of these other ones. Some of these you may have heard. I'm just going to rattle off the names of the authors and the titles. So we have The Guiding Council of Myths and Urban Legends by Mike Wolfe, The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin, Throne of the Crescent Moon by Saladin Ahmed, The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King, To Ride Hell's Chasm by Jenny Wirtz, and then there's a whole bunch of others. I don't think I'll get this far. Some is like Warbreaker, Elantris, Master of the Five Magics, Feeling Away, The Redwood Rebel, Dance Macabre, and The Grey Bastards. Those are all some ones that I'm really interested in getting to this year. I just don't think I'm going to have the time to fit those all in. I'd love to say I can get 15 to 20 books this year, but due to the sheer size of Oathbringer and then the 6 Malazan books, I'll be lucky if I get much more than 7 or 8 books done next year. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, diving into these characters, these worlds, exploring, learning new things, and hopefully just finding new inspiration, new ideas, and just continuing to allow that creative process in my own mind to just continue to grow and to just see where it leads. All right, so what I want to know from you guys is, what are you interested in reading this year, and what were some of your favorite reads of this past year? So anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit me up in the comments. All right, love you guys. Peace out.